Welcome to this web exclusive on WPRI.com. Now, we have talked to the Rhode Island and Massachusetts State Police. They tell us they are monitoring the developments out of Orlando and sharing intelligence. Joining us now, Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. He is a former Adjutant General of Rhode Island, and during that tenure, he was also director of the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency and the Rhode Island Homeland Security Advisor. General, thanks for joining us on the web tonight.
Thank you.
You spent many years protecting the home front, suffice to say. For people here in Rhode Island, what would be taking place in our own security apparatus, General, in the wake of what happened down south?
Right now, I think it's just a matter of monitoring what's going on in Orlando and sharing information that we are getting from not only the FBI, but other agencies that are conducting this investigation. So we're making sure that we are aware of what's going on and we don't see anything that perhaps could be tied into this. So far, there's nothing to indicate that there was anything beyond that particular shooter. But you never know. One little piece of the puzzle could add up to something significant. So right now, they're monitoring it, making sure they're sharing with each other. And I think perhaps more importantly at this juncture, that our own response capability is being looked at. Do we have the resources? Are we in contact with people? Do we have the right telephone numbers to be able to contact and make everybody aware that they need to respond in the event that we have something similar?
One of the things we were talking about off air is you used the term deja vu in talking about how this harkens back to what we originated here in Rhode Island from this perspective. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Clearly, unfortunately for the Station 5, we had something similar. And when you deal with the residual effects of any scenario, regardless of whether it's an accident or a tragedy or a terrorist act, you deal with whatever you need to do. And that's to keep the families informed of the next of kin. And in Rhode Island, I think we perhaps came up with a system that would be able to make sure we tie the news media in, as well as keeping the families abreast of exactly what's going on, and not getting into a scenario where everything we're doing is being scrutinized because we're not sure of what we're doing. We were sure of what we're doing, and I think that's clearly what we're seeing in Orlando. It's a well put together plan, and I think perhaps we had a little bit to do with that, about devising an unfortunate scenario and sharing that with the rest of the country.
All right, General, you know, a lot of people are going to be asking this question, not only tonight, but going forward. The FBI apparently had this shooter on their radar a few years ago. It seems to have started and ended there, and nothing more came of it. People will ask, well, why is someone like that allowed to slip through the cracks? How do you analyze that? You know,
really, I think it's pretty simple, straightforward. Our Constitution protects us, for the most part, against any extreme actions that law enforcement might take because they think something might happen. In this particular case, he may have said something, he may have done something, but not enough for them to take action. There is, unfortunately, a loophole that he took advantage of and leveraged, and that was that because this happened and a couple of years went by, or maybe 1 or 2 years went by, he was still able to buy a firearm, as a Glock, as well as an AR-15. But at the same time, we recognized he was a security guard, he had a license, and so on and so forth. So all that put together was a really challenge as to whether, in fact, the FBI could take any further action or not. In this particular case, they didn't, and this is the result.
Unfortunately, we've had occasion to talk about this in the past, but the terminology hard target versus soft target, a hard target, well defended, less vulnerable, a soft target, a place where civilians frequent. This was a gay nightclub. I know not necessarily on people's radar when they heard about the setting of where all of this had unfolded. Can you truly and adequately defend soft targets?
No, you can't. I can say that definitively because it's physically impossible to have enough security that every possible venue might be a target. You can talk about a church, you can talk about a ball game, you can talk about a movie theater, a mall, a highway. No matter what you're doing, we need to have a society that feels they can access whatever we do as a society, not to have to worry about some individual trying to do harm to all of us. But I think what we'll see in the future is obviously an awareness that will build from within. People will be more aware of their surroundings, and consequently, that is the first step to be able to have a better environment by people reporting something that is not quite so, and they see something different, they need to report it and not be concerned what the consequences might be. That maybe they might be referred to as, and I take this term strictly in this context, a racist or some kind of other individual that might prototype different individuals. I think the political correctness from time to time is our worst enemy, because people don't want to be considered to be in a category of looking at people in a different way, but at the same time, it's a real fine balance. If you don't, then you're allowing a possible terrorist act to take place. If you do, then you might be criticized for it, but you may have prevented something to happen to begin with.
I know you've dealt with these matters for many years over a long career, and General, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on WPRI.com.